You know, I was staring at my ceiling at 3 a.m. the other night, as one does, thinking about this specific frustration.
Right.
It's that feeling when you're doing absolutely everything right. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You're checking all the boxes. You're working the long hours.
You're following the manual.
Exactly. The manual for life they gave you in school. But despite all that, you look down and you're treading water. You aren't drowning, but you're not going anywhere fast.
Mhm.
And then, and this is the part that keeps you up, you scroll through your phone and see someone who seems to have done, I don't know, one thing.
One specific thing.
Right.
Yeah.
They sent one tweet that went viral, or they bought some weird crypto coin at just the right time, and suddenly they are just skyrocketing past you. It feels unfair.
It feels random.
Yeah, and it's annoying.
It feels random because, well, in a way, it is. But that frustration you're feeling, that comes from a mismatch in your mental model.
A mismatch.
You are trying to play a linear game where input A equals output B in a world that has fundamentally shifted to being nonlinear.
So we're expecting that if we shovel dirt for an hour, we move a pile of dirt. Shovel for 10 hours, move 10 piles.
Exactly. That's the industrial model. That's
Yeah.
the linear world. But the world of the internet, of finance, of modern careers, that's nonlinear. In that world, one input can equal 0
Or a billion.
or billion.
And that brings us to today's deep dive. We are sort of stripping away the work harder advice because, honestly, I don't think that's the answer here.
No.
We're looking at the concept of the asymmetric operator.
This is one of my favorite topics because it just completely flips the script on how we view success. The asymmetric operator isn't the person grinding the hardest.
Okay.
They're the person who has positioned themselves to win in a world that's governed by extreme events.
And to help us unpack this, we've pulled together a stack of sources that is honestly a little intimidating. We're calling this the Avengers of Strategy.
That's a good name for it.
We've got Nassim Nicholas Taleb on risk, Naval Ravikant on wealth and leverage, Robert Greene on strategy, and of course, the late, great Charlie Munger on mental models.
It's a powerhouse lineup. But the mission here is actually pretty simple. We want to shift your mental model from efficiency, which can be really dangerous in this context, to anti-fragility.
Right.
We want to show you how to cap your downside so you can't get wiped out while leaving your upside completely, totally unlimited.
Okay, let's get into it. If we're going to play this game, we need to understand the board. Taleb talks about these two different worlds we all live in, Mediocristan and Extremistan.
These terms are just fantastic. He coined them to describe the statistical nature of different environments. And if you don't know which world you're in, you are going to get hurt.
So start us off with Mediocristan. This sounds like where most of us think we live.
It is. Mediocristan is the world of biology. It's the physical world. Think about height or weight or how many calories you eat. It's all governed by the bell curve.
Where the average reigns supreme?
Right. Taleb uses this visualization. Imagine you gather 1,000 random people in a stadium. You weigh them all. Then you add the heaviest person in the world to that sample.
Okay.
Does the average weight of the group change?
Barely. Maybe a few ounces?
Exactly. Even the heaviest person on Earth is just a blip when you dilute them into a sample of 1,000. In Mediocristan, the collective is stronger than any single individual. One observation can't wreck the total.
It's predictable. This is what we're trained for. School grades are Mediocristan. A normal 9-to-5 wage is Mediocristan.
Yes. But now let's step into Extremistan. This is the world of wealth, of book sales, YouTube views, software startups.
The scalable world.
Right. And in this world, the bell curve goes out the window. So back to that stadium and the 1,000 people. But this time, instead of their weight, we measure their net worth.
Okay.
Now let's add someone like Elon Musk to that sample. What happens to the average wealth?
It explodes. The average person in that stadium is suddenly, on paper, a multimillionaire.
Because one person holds 99.9% of the total value. That is Extremistan. Taleb points out that in the book business, something like 0.2% of authors sell half the books.
Which is terrifying if you're trying to be an author.
It is, but it's the reality. And the disconnect happens because we act like we're in Mediocristan, expecting these steady, predictable returns when we're actually living in Extremistan.
And this mismatch leads to what Taleb calls the turkey problem. I love this analogy, but it's also deeply unsettling.
It should be. It's a warning about data. So picture a turkey on a farm. Every single day for 1,000 days, the butcher comes out and feeds it.
From the turkey's perspective, this butcher is a saint, a benefactor.
Precisely. The turkey is a little data scientist. It plots the trend line. Day 1, fed. D100, fed. day 900 fed.
Its confidence level that the butcher loves me is rising every single day.
The turkey feels safest right when the risk is at its absolute highest.
And then comes day 1001, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
And the model crashes. Literally. The turkey is surprised. The butcher is not.
Because the butcher knew it was a nonlinear game, and the turkey thought it was linear.
And the takeaway here is so crucial. In a nonlinear world, the absence of evidence, meaning, I haven't crashed yet or I haven't been laid off yet, is not evidence of absence. Risk builds up silently.
That is heavy. So if we accept that we live in Extremistan, where the past doesn't predict the future, how do we operate? I mean, I can't just quit my job and hope for a miracle.
No, and you absolutely shouldn't. That's how you become the turkey. This brings us to the core strategy, the barbell strategy.
Okay.
It's something both Taleb and Naval Ravikant talk about a lot.
Help me visualize this. We're not talking about actual gym equipment. Right?
No, we're talking about risk distribution.
Yeah.
Imagine a barbell with weights on both ends and nothing in the middle. Most people try to live in the middle.
Medium risk for medium reward.
Yeah, that's what they think. They mark a standard corporate job, put their money in a standard index fund. They try to be balanced.
The mushy middle, it feels safe because everyone else is there.
But Taleb argues it's actually the most dangerous place. In the middle, you have very limited upside. You'll never get rich from a salary, but you still have this huge unseen downside. A recession or, AI could wipe out your whole industry.
So you're exposed to the crash, but you don't get the rocket ship.
You got it. The barbell strategy says, get out of the middle, be extreme on both ends. So on one end, you want hyper safety, extreme aversion to ruin.
This is the keep your day job part.
Yes. Naval is very clear on this. Don't bet the farm. Don't go into debt. Make sure your basic needs are met so you are never forced to make a bad decision out of desperation. That safety is your foundation.
Okay, so I've got my shield up. I'm safe. What's on the other side?
On the other side, you take lots of small risks with potentially unlimited upside. This is where you place your bets. You start a podcast. You write code for a side project.
You invest a tiny amount of money into a startup.
Exactly. And the key distinction here is the cost.
It's the asymmetry, right?
It's the asymmetry. What does it cost you to write a blog post? A few hours. Maybe a little bit of pride if nobody watches it. That is capped downside. You can't lose more than that.
But if it hits, if it goes viral.
The upside is uncapped. It could lead to a book deal, a new career, millions of dollars. That is convexity. You want to be in a position where you make far, far more when you're right than you lose when you're wrong.
Naval uses a dating analogy for this that I thought really clicked for me.
It's the perfect example. In modern society, you can go on, infinite dates. Let's say you go on a bad date. What's the downside?
$50, an awkward dinner, maybe a funny story for your friends.
Right. The downside is capped. You can fail 50 times in a row. But you only have to be right once to find a life partner.
And that one success pays off in compounding returns for the rest of your life.
Exactly. The asymmetric operator treats their career like modern dating. They're constantly tinkering. Taleb loves that word, tinkering. You just need some grandmaster plan. You just need to keep placing small convex bets. Most will fail. Who cares? You forget them. But you catch one positive black swan, and you win the entire game.
So we've got the terrain Extremistan, we have the strategy, the barbell. But I want to talk about the day-to-day mindset, because it is really hard to think big and strategic when you are just drowning in emails.
It is. The whirlwind of the day-to-day is so powerful. And this is where we have to bring in Robert Greene. He diagnoses this state perfectly. He calls it tactical hell.
I feel like I have a permanent residence in tactical hell. What is it exactly?
It's where most of us live. You're purely reactive. The email pings, you answer. The boss calls, you jump. Your horizon is about 2 inches in front of your face. You're just fighting to survive the day.
And the trap is that it feels productive, you're busy, you're sweating.
But you're getting nowhere. The strategist, by contrast, fights to lift their head up. They look at the whole board. And Greene has a specific warning for us here. Do not fight the last war.
Meaning we tend to just do what worked yesterday.
Because it feels safe. We crave patterns. But Greene brings up Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary samurai. Musashi fought over 60 duels to the death and won them all. Do you know what his secret style was?
What was it?
He didn't have one. He never used the same strategy twice. If his opponent expected him to be aggressive, he was passive. If they expected him to be on time, he'd show up late just to mess with their head.
So he wasn't following a best practice. He was reading the specific reality in front of him.
Which requires immense mental flexibility. and comfort is the enemy of that. Green talks about the death ground strategy. He says humans are naturally lazy. We only truly tap into our creativity when we have no other choice.
If your back is to the ocean, you fight harder.
That's it. Sometimes, as an operator, you have to artificially create that pressure. Give yourself a public deadline. Commit to a project you don't know how to finish. You have to cut off your own escape route.
That sounds intense. But speaking of clear thinking under pressure, we have to bring in Charlie Munger. Because while Green is about aggression and war, Munger brings this incredibly practical, almost simple rule for intelligence.
Invert. Always invert.
It sounds like a riddle. Break that down for us.
Munger argues that complex problems are hard to solve forward, but easy to solve backward. It's often impossible to know exactly how to succeed, but it's very easy to know how to fail.
So instead of trying to be brilliant, just try not to be stupid.
Precisely. Let's say you want to be a successful investor.
Yep.
That's a hard problem.
Yeah.
So invert it. How do you become a failed investor?
Oh, that's easy. I'd buy high and sell low. I'd trade on pure emotion. I'd use way too much leverage so I go bankrupt on a 10% dip.
Right.
I'd invest in things I don't understand just because my neighbor did.
Perfect. So if you just eliminate those things, don't use leverage, don't trade emotionally, don't buy garbage, you are automatically ahead of 90% of the market.
It connects right back to the barbell, doesn't it? The safe side of the barbell is just Munger's inversion.
Exactly. You're removing the risk of ruin. You're ensuring you stay in the game long enough to get lucky. If you avoid stupidity, you survive. If you survive, you can tinker. If you tinker, eventually you win.
Okay, so we're avoiding ruin, we're tinkering. Now let's talk about the upside. When we do catch that wave, how do we maximize it? This is where Naval's concept of leverage comes in.
This is the holy grail. Naval argues you cannot get wealthy by renting out your time. You are linear. You need leverage to detach your inputs from your outputs.
He breaks this down into permissioned and permissionless leverage. This was a huge aha moment for me.
It explains the last 20 years of the economy. Historically, if you wanted leverage, you needed labor. You had to hire people, or you needed capital. You had to borrow millions to build a factory.
And both of those require someone to say yes.
Yeah.
A boss has to promote you, or a bank has to loan you the money. You need permission.
But now we have code and media. These are permissionless leverage. You can write a piece of software tonight. You can record a podcast. Who do you have to ask for permission?
Nobody. I just hit publish.
And here's the magic. The economic term you need to know is that the marginal cost of replication is zero.
Wait, untack marginal cost for the listener who, like me, skipped Econ 101.
It just means the cost of producing one more unit. If I'm a baker and I bake one loaf of bread, baking a second loaf costs me more flour, more time, more oven space. The marginal cost is real.
But with this deep dive,
If one person listens to this, or 1 million people listen, it costs us the exact same amount of effort to produce. The software works for you while you sleep. The content works for you while you sleep. You're building an army of robots.
but there's a catch, right? You can't just leverage anything. If I'm just doing what everyone else is doing, I'm a commodity. Naval talks about specific knowledge.
This is the other side of the coin.
Hmm.
Leverage is a force multiplier. If you multiply something generic, you just become a generic commodity faster. You need specific knowledge. This is something that you cannot be trained for.
How so?
If you can be trained for it, someone else can be trained to replace you, probably for cheaper.
So where do you find it? It sounds elusive.
You find it by looking at what feels like play to you, but looks like work to others. It's that weird intersection of your genuine curiosity. Maybe you're obsessed with both heavy metal music and corporate accounting.
That is a very specific niche.
It is. But if you become the accountant for heavy metal bands, you have zero competition. You have specific knowledge. And then you apply leverage. You write software for band finances, or you start a blog about it.
And then the Matthew principle kicks in.
To those who have, more is given. It sounds biblical, but it's really statistical. Once you get a little traction in that niche, network effects take over, opportunities find you, you stop chasing them.
Okay, let's try to synthesize this. We've covered a lot of ground, from turkeys to samurais to heavy metal accountants. What does the asymmetric operator actually look like in the wild?
The asymmetric operator isn't necessarily the smartest person in the room. They are not the one with the highest IQ or the most fancy degrees.
They aren't the one memorizing the textbook definitions.
No. They are the person who has structured their life to survive the bad days. They avoid ruin, and they have positioned themselves to fully capture the good days. They play long-term games with long-term people.
And they understand the difference between the map and the territory.
This is the thought I want to leave everyone with. Tilip tells a story in Anti-Fragile about the green lumber fallacy. It's my favorite story in this whole stack.
Lay it on us.
So Taleb describes this trader who made an absolute fortune trading green lumber. He was a legend on the floor. People just assumed he was an expert in forestry.
Right, that he knew the biology of the trees, the supply chains, all of it.
But it turned out he thought green lumber was literally wood that had been painted green.
Wait, really? He didn't know it meant freshly cut wood.
No idea. He didn't know the definition, he didn't know the theory, and frankly, he didn't care. Meanwhile, you had guys with PhDs in forestry who knew the Latin name of every tree, and they were going broke.
Because the trader understood the risk. He understood the order flow. He understood when to bet and when to fold.
Exactly. He was an operator, not an academic.
Yeah.
And that is the trap for smart people. We get obsessed with the definitions, we want the credentials, but the real-world Extremistan doesn't care if you know the Latin name of the tree. It cares if you know when to buy the lumber.
That's a powerful place to land. Stop trying to be the person who sounds smart and start being the person who is positioned for luck.
Don't just work hard. Be convex.
That's the mission. Go audit your life. Where are you fragile? Where are you fighting the last war? And most importantly, where are you placing those small bets that could lead to your own positive black swan?
Thanks for diving deep with us.
We'll see you next time.